Lily Parker never thought a simple cooking class would change her life. Actually, she didn't even want to go. It all started on a rainy Thursday evening. She was sitting in her tiny kitchen, eating instant noodles after another long shift at the cafe where she worked. The day had been the same as always: customers, coffee, dishes, and a dream she was too tired to chase. Her best friend Mia called. "Lily, you're coming with me tonight. No excuses." "Where?" Lily asked, already knowing she was about to regret it. "A cooking class. For fun. Come on, you love cooking." "I cook every day at work, Mia." "Yeah, but this is different. Fancy." Lily sighed. She didn't have energy for fancy. But Mia was impossible to say no to. So an hour later, Lily found herself standing in front of a modern glass building with the words Gourmet Experience Studio glowing in gold letters. Inside, everything looked like a movie set. Shiny counters, expensive knives, stainless steel everywhere, people in designer clothes chatting about truffle oil and wine pairings. Lily felt completely out of place in her simple jeans and a white sweater. Mia leaned closer and whispered, "I heard some rich guy is sponsoring this. Like super rich. Billionaire level rich." Lily rolled her eyes. "Yeah, sure. And maybe he's looking for his next wife too?" They both laughed. But if only she knew how close to the truth that joke was. The class started. A tall chef in a white jacket clapped his hands. "Tonight," he said, "you'll be cooking something that shows who you are. Your signature dish." Lily froze for a second. "Who I am?" She thought for a moment, then smiled to herself. Maybe something simple. Something warm. Something that felt like home. She took some chicken, lemon, fresh rosemary, and honey. Her hands moved naturally, slow, careful, confident. The smell of citrus and herbs filled the air. Around her, others were busy trying to impress the chef with complicated sauces. But Lily wasn't trying to impress anyone. She was cooking for herself. Still, she didn't notice the tall man standing behind the glass wall upstairs, watching silently. His name was Aidan Stone, the billionaire CEO who had organized this entire event. Aidan had everything. Money, fame, a company that controlled half the restaurant industry. But he'd grown tired of perfection. Every chef he hired made food that looked beautiful and tasted empty. He wanted to feel something again. That's why he started this cooking class project. To find someone who cooked with soul. Down below, he watched as Lily brushed honey glaze over the golden brown chicken, added a touch of lemon zest, and smiled softly to herself. There was something different about her. Something genuine. When the time came to present the dishes, the chef collected them all on a long table. Aidan came down the stairs, still wearing his tailored black suit. No one expected the sponsor himself to appear. The room fell silent. Mia whispered, "Oh my God, that's him." Lily followed her gaze and almost dropped her plate. He looked intimidating. Tall, sharp features, gray eyes that seemed to see right through people. He didn't smile. He began tasting each dish one by one. With every bite, his expression stayed neutral. Until he reached Lily's. He stopped, looked down at the plate. "Whose dish is this?" he asked, his voice low, smooth but commanding. Lily's heart jumped. Mine." He turned his gaze to her, steady, curious. "What's it called?" "Lemon rosemary chicken with honey glaze," she said quietly. Aidan took a forkful, tasted it, and paused. Seconds stretched. Everyone was watching him. He swallowed, then looked back at her. "Perfect," he said simply. And for the first time that night, his expression softened. Lily didn't know what to say. "Thank you," she managed, trying not to blush. He gave a small nod and moved on, but his eyes lingered a moment longer than necessary. Something about her caught him, though he didn't know why yet. The class ended soon after. People chatted, exchanged numbers, took selfies with the chef. Lily was cleaning her station when she felt someone behind her. She turned, but no one was there. Just a faint scent of expensive cologne, and a single white business card left on the counter. There were no words on it. Just a gold-embossed logo, Stone Industries. Mia picked it up. "Whoa, this looks serious." "You think he—" Lily cut her off, laughing nervously. "Please. He probably dropped it. That guy doesn't even know my name." But when she looked around one last time, she saw him at the exit, Aidan Stone standing in the shadows, his gaze fixed on her for just a second before he disappeared into the night. That night, Lily couldn't sleep. The taste of lemon and rosemary still lingered on her lips, but so did the image of his gray eyes. Why did it feel like something had started, something she couldn't explain? Next morning, she found an envelope at her cafe counter. No return address. Inside was a short handwritten note. "You cook with heart. I want to taste that again. S." Lily froze, staring at the initials. Aiden Stone, the Billionaire CEO. She laughed out loud, thinking it must be a prank. But then she noticed something else inside the envelope. A sleek black invitation card with golden letters. Private tasting session. Saturday, 7 p.m. Stone Tower, penthouse level. Mia squealed when she saw it. "Girl, you're going." Lily shook her head. "No way. That's insane." "Insane? It's destiny." Lily didn't believe in destiny. But that night, as she closed her cafe and wiped her hands on her apron, she caught herself smiling. Maybe she'd just go to see what kind of man leaves a note like that. Saturday evening came. Lily stood in front of the tallest building in the city, heart pounding. The elevator doors opened, revealing a hallway bathed in golden light. And at the end, Aiden Stone himself, waiting beside a table set for two. He looked at her and said, quietly, "I was wondering if your food would taste as good when you're cooking just for me." Lily swallowed hard. Something told her this dinner wasn't going to be ordinary. Saturday evening came faster than Lily expected. She almost changed her mind twice, staring at her reflection in the mirror. Her soft blonde hair fell in waves around her face, and her blue dress, simple but elegant, felt too fancy for a cooking thing. She whispered to herself, "It's just dinner. Just a meal. Don't overthink it." But her heart didn't believe her. The driver dropped her off in front of Stone Tower, the tallest building in the city. It glittered against the night sky like a blade of glass. Lily took a deep breath and stepped inside. The elevator whooshed upward, past floors she couldn't even imagine. When the doors opened, she was met by warm golden light, and the soft scent of cedar and something expensive she couldn't name. The space looked more like a luxury art gallery than an apartment. At the far end stood Aiden Stone. Black suit again. Calm, confident, unreadable. The kind of man who looked like he owned the world and probably did. "Miss Parker," he said, his voice low and smooth. "You came." She tried to sound casual. "Well, you did invite me." And the note was impossible to ignore. A small smile curved his lips. "Good. I was hoping you'd be curious." On the table nearby there were fresh ingredients neatly arranged: lemon, herbs, salmon, vegetables, and spices. The view from the window showed the whole city glowing below, like stars had fallen to the ground. "You want me to cook?" she asked. "Yes," he said. "Cook whatever comes to you. No rules. No recipes." Lily hesitated. "For you." "For me," he replied. "I want to understand what makes your food taste alive." She didn't know what he meant, but something in his tone made her pulse quicken. He watched her as she moved around the kitchen, opening drawers, finding tools. The space was so perfect, modern, clean, quiet. She felt like a trespasser in someone's private world. As she began to cook, the silence between them turned electric. The sound of chopping, the sizzle of oil, the scent of garlic filled the air. Aiden didn't speak much, but his eyes followed every motion. It was intense, almost too much. She asked lightly, "Do you always stare at people while they cook?" He didn't look away. "Only when I'm interested." Her cheeks warmed and she quickly turned back to the pan. "Well, that's distracting." "Good," he said softly. She laughed under her breath. Felt strange, playful, dangerous. When the dish was ready, she placed it in front of him. Seared salmon with lemon butter sauce and roasted rosemary potatoes. Simple, bright, full of flavor, her kind of food. Aiden took a bite, slow and thoughtful. He didn't speak for several seconds. Then quietly, "You did it again." "Did what?" she asked. "You made something that feels human." Lily blinked. "That's a weird way to describe food." He smiled faintly. "Maybe, but that's what it is. Most food I taste feels empty. Yours doesn't." There was something in his voice, not just admiration but curiosity. He set the fork down and leaned back. "Where did you learn to cook like that?" My mom, she said. She used to say food isn't about perfection, it's about care. I just never forgot that. His expression softened a little. Mine said something similar. Before she passed away. I'm sorry, Lily whispered. He nodded once. She loved cooking too. She said the right meal could change someone's day. Maybe even their life. He looked at her again. I think she might have been right. Lily didn't know how to respond. For the first time, Aiden Stone didn't look like a billionaire. He looked like a man remembering something he missed. It made her heart ache in a way she didn't expect. He cleared his throat. I have a proposal for you. Her guard went up instantly. What kind of proposal? I want you to work for me. As my personal chef. She blinked. What? No, I can't. I'm not a professional. I work at a cafe. I make sandwiches and soup, not 5-star dinners. He leaned forward slightly. You don't need training. You have instinct. I trust that more than any diploma. I appreciate that, but I don't think I'm your kind of person. He raised an eyebrow. And what kind is that? The type who fits in this world, she said quietly, glancing around at the marble counters and skyline view. For a long moment he said nothing. Then unexpectedly his tone softened. You think I fit here, Miss Parker? She looked up, and for the first time saw something like weariness in his eyes. He continued, I built all this and still half the time it feels like I'm just pretending. The silence that followed was gentle, almost intimate. Lily smiled faintly. Maybe you just need better food. That made him laugh. A real laugh, low and genuine. Maybe I do. She started gathering her things, feeling suddenly nervous. Anyway, thank you for the experience. I should go. But as she turned, he spoke again. Wait. She looked back. Aiden stood, his expression unreadable. Cook for me one more time. Tomorrow night. If I don't feel something, I'll never bother you again. And if you do? He smiled slightly. Then we'll talk about that. Her heart skipped. You really don't take no for an answer, do you? Not when it comes to something worth chasing. She laughed softly, shaking her head. You're impossible. Maybe, he said. But so are you. She met his gaze for a second too long, and the air shifted between them. That strange warmth returned, spreading through her chest. For a moment she couldn't look away. Then she broke the silence. Fine. One more time. But only because I don't like unfinished stories. I'll take that, he said, and there was something like victory in his eyes. When she left his penthouse, the night air felt cool and alive. She told herself it was just a job, just a meal, nothing more. But as she walked away, she couldn't stop smiling. Back in his apartment, Aiden watched from the window as her car disappeared into the city. He touched his lips, still tasting lemon and butter, and whispered to himself, finally something real. The next evening Lily stood outside Stone Tower again. Same place, same golden lights, but everything felt different this time. Her stomach twisted with a nervous excitement she didn't want to admit. It wasn't just about the food anymore. The guard at the entrance greeted her by name, which felt strange. She wasn't used to being expected anywhere. The elevator doors opened silently, and when she stepped out, the penthouse was lit more softly than before. Warm lamps, quiet jazz music, and the faint smell of vanilla in the air. Aiden appeared from the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, no tie this time. He looked almost relaxed. I wasn't sure you'd come, he said. I wasn't sure either, she replied, trying not to smile. But unfinished stories bother me. He gave a small approving nod. Fair enough. The ingredients were already laid out on the counter: fresh herbs, pasta, cream, mushrooms, garlic. He gestured toward them. I thought we'd do something simple tonight, he said. Pasta. My mother used to make it when I was a kid. Lily raised an eyebrow. You're helping. Helping, he repeated with mock seriousness. Not cooking. I know my limits. She laughed. That's a relief. They began to work side by side, she chopping, he trying to follow instructions and not mess anything up. It was strange seeing a billionaire awkwardly holding a knife. He noticed her amused expression. You're judging me, aren't you? Just a little, she teased. You look like someone reading a manual for the first time. He smirked. I usually have people for that. Well, tonight you have me, she said, and the words came out softer than she meant. Something flickered in his eyes, a warmth that made her chest tighten. They moved around the kitchen, closer than before, brushing shoulders accidentally. Once, when she reached for the salt, her hand brushed his, and for a moment neither of them moved. The touch was brief, but it lingered. She tried to focus on the pan. So why me? You could hire anyone. He watched her stir the sauce. Because you cook like you mean it. That's not an answer. He smiled. Maybe I just like watching you work. She rolled her eyes, but her cheeks flushed. You really don't know how to talk to normal people, do you? Probably not, he admitted. But I'm trying. There was a quiet honesty in his tone that caught her off guard. He wasn't flirting for show. He was simply saying what he felt in his own blunt way. When the pasta was ready, they sat at the table by the window. The city spread out below like a sea of lights. Lily twirled her fork, pretending not to notice that he was watching her again. Well, she asked, how's your own cooking? He smiled faintly. Better than expected, though I think your magic fixed it. My magic? He leaned in slightly. You don't see it, do you? The way you move, the way you bring things to life. It's different. Lily froze for a second. No one had ever said something like that to her. Not about her cooking, not about her. I just do what feels right, she said quietly. Exactly, he replied. That's why it works. They ate in silence for a while, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It was the kind of silence that feels full, not empty. The kind where two people don't need to speak to understand something is happening between them. After dinner, she started clearing the plates, but Aiden stopped her. Leave it. I'll have it taken care of. Taken care of by who? She asked. He smiled. By me. He took the plates and set them aside, then turned back to her. You keep surprising me, Miss Parker. How so? You walked into a room full of people pretending to be perfect. And you didn't. You just cooked. No fear, no filter. She shrugged, embarrassed. I didn't know who you were. That helped. He laughed softly. I should keep it that way then. The air between them shifted again. They were standing close now, too close. The city lights reflected in his eyes, and for a heartbeat, the world outside felt very far away. Lily's voice dropped to a whisper. This is strange. What is? Being here. With you. Like this. He looked down at her, his tone gentle but certain. It doesn't have to be strange. For a second it felt like time stopped. The soft music, the glow of the skyline, the warmth in the room. Everything blurred around them. His hand lifted slightly, brushing a strand of hair from her face. His touch was light, almost cautious. She felt her breath catch, her heart racing for reasons that had nothing to do with nerves. But then, realizing what was happening, she stepped back quickly, breaking the spell. I should go, she said, trying to steady her voice. He didn't move to stop her. If you want to, he said quietly. But I hope you don't. She forced a small smile. I'll think about it. When she reached the elevator, he called after her, his voice softer this time. Lily. She turned. Tomorrow, he said. Come back. Not for work. Just dinner. Her pulse jumped again. Dinner. He nodded. No contracts. No business. Just you and me. She hesitated, the elevator doors waiting to close. Then she said, almost whispering, we'll see. As the doors slid shut, Aiden stood there, hands in his pockets, watching her disappear behind the metal doors. For the first time in years he felt something he couldn't name, something real, raw, and almost dangerous. Lily, meanwhile, rode down in silence, her reflection staring back at her. She wasn't sure what she was walking into, but deep down she knew one thing. She wanted to find out. Sunday came, but Lily couldn't focus on anything. She kept replaying Aiden's words in her head. Not for work. Just dinner. She told herself she wouldn't go. She told herself a dozen times. And yet, when the clock struck 7, she was standing in front of Stone Tower again, dressed in a soft ivory blouse and jeans. Nothing fancy, just her. The elevator ride felt shorter this time. Maybe because she already knew what waited above. When the doors opened, Aiden was there. No suit, no cold formality. Just a gray shirt with the sleeves rolled up, barefoot, holding 2 glasses of wine. You came, he said. Apparently, she replied, smiling shyly. I blame curiosity. Then I'll try to make it worth your while. He handed her a glass and they sat by the wide windows. The skyline was a sea of light beneath them, the city humming far below. So, she said, swirling her wine, this isn't a business dinner? He shook his head. No contracts tonight. I just wanted to know you outside of a kitchen. Lily smirked. You don't strike me as a small talk kind of guy. Normally I'm not. But you make silence feel better. She looked down, hiding a smile. You're full of surprises, Mr. Stone. Just Aiden, he said softly. They ordered delivery, simple pizza of all things, and talked about nothing important. Childhood memories. Music. The fact that she hated olives and he thought pineapple on pizza was a crime. He laughed more that night than he had in months. For Lily, the realization was stranger. He wasn't just the billionaire she'd imagined. He was thoughtful, funny in his own quiet way. And when he looked at her, it wasn't with arrogance, it was curiosity. As if she was something he didn't quite understand but wanted to. After dinner, he showed her the rooftop garden. It was peaceful, soft lights, a few herbs growing in pots, a faint smell of mint and rain. This is where I come when I want to think, he said. You actually have plants? She teased. He smiled. They remind me that not everything in life should be controlled. The wind caught her hair, and for a moment she forgot everything else. The noise of the city below faded away. It was just them, standing there in the quiet glow of the rooftop. You know, she said, glancing at him. You're not what I expected. And what did you expect? A man who gives orders, not invitations. He tilted his head. Maybe I'm changing. Because of me? She asked lightly. He met her eyes. Maybe. Her heart skipped. She looked away, unsure what to do with the warmth in her chest. To distract herself, she pointed to one of the plants. Your basil's dying, by the way. He chuckled. Then you'll have to help me save it. There was something playful in his tone that made her laugh. But beneath it, she sensed something deeper. An invitation, quiet but real. They stood close, almost shoulder to shoulder, and the silence grew heavier. His gaze dropped to her lips for a fraction of a second before he looked away. I should go, she whispered, though her voice didn't sound convinced. Stay a little longer, he said. She hesitated, then nodded. Minutes passed in comfortable quiet. The city breeze was cool, her heart warm. She turned to say something, but when she did, he was already watching her. The world seemed to narrow, just his eyes, his breath, the closeness between them. She didn't move. Neither did he. And then it just happened. A small step, a breath, and his lips brushed hers, light as a thought. It wasn't demanding. It wasn't staged. It was slow, uncertain, like both of them were surprised by it. But the moment it happened, it felt inevitable. Her hand trembled slightly against his chest. His touch lingered at her waist, careful, as if he didn't want to break whatever fragile magic had formed around them. When they finally pulled apart, she could barely breathe. That was, she began. He finished the sentence quietly. Unexpected. They both laughed. A soft, nervous sound that said everything words couldn't. I really should go now, she said again. He nodded, though his eyes said otherwise. I'll walk you to the elevator. As they walked inside, she could still feel his warmth, still taste the moment. She tried to act casual, but her mind was spinning. Before the doors closed, he said, Lily, about that proposal. She groaned. Please don't ruin the moment by talking business. He smiled. It's not business. It's a promise. Work with me just for a while. I'll make it worth your time. And not just with money. She crossed her arms. You think you can buy my yes? I think I can earn it. Her lips curved. That's a dangerous statement. I like dangerous, he replied. The elevator chimed softly, and she stepped inside. He stayed by the doorway. Good night, Aiden. Good night, Lily. The doors began to close. But just before they did, he reached out, gently pressing his hand against the edge, stopping them. One more thing, he said. What? His eyes met hers. That kiss, I don't regret it. Do you? She hesitated for a heartbeat too long, then smiled. No, she said quietly. But don't let it go to your head. The doors slid shut, leaving him standing there, smiling to himself for the first time in a long time. That night Lily lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling, her heart racing. She knew she was stepping into something she couldn't quite name. Something complicated, maybe dangerous. But she also knew she didn't want it to stop. By Monday morning Lily told herself she was over it. The kiss, the night, the way Aiden had looked at her as if she was the only real thing in his world. But she wasn't. She could still feel it, the quiet pull between them, impossible to ignore. She spent the day at her cafe trying to distract herself. But even her regular customers noticed she was different. She smiled more, hummed under her breath. Mia showed up around noon and raised an eyebrow the second she saw her. Okay, what's his name? There's no. Don't even try. You've got that look. Lily sighed. Fine. His name's Aiden. Mia nearly dropped her coffee. Aiden Stone? The billionaire Aiden Stone? Lily groaned. Don't start. Oh, I'm starting. Lily, what are you doing in his orbit? That's like petting a lion and pretending it's a cat. I'm not in his orbit, Lily insisted. He offered me a job, that's all. Mia smirked. And a kiss. Lily's cheeks burned. That was an accident. Sure it was, Mia said, laughing. Be careful, okay? Guys like him don't play small. But that night as Lily walked home her phone buzzed. A text from Aiden. Dinner tomorrow. 7 p.m. My offer still stands. She stared at the screen for a long moment, then typed back. You really don't give up, do you? He replied almost instantly. Never have. Never will. The next evening she went again. This time she told herself it was to discuss business. Aiden greeted her with his usual calm composure, but there was a spark in his eyes that made her heart race all over again. They ate together, nothing fancy, just grilled vegetables and pasta, but the air between them was charged. After dinner, he showed her a folder filled with sketches and plans. I'm building a new restaurant, he said. I want it to feel alive. Not like another luxury showpiece. I want your touch in it. She blinked. Mine. Yes. You design the menu, the concept, everything. I'll provide the resources. Think of it as your restaurant with my backing. Lily stared at him, stunned. That's insane. It's an opportunity, he said simply. And if I say no? He smiled faintly. Then I'll just keep asking. She laughed, partly out of disbelief, partly because he was so serious it was almost funny. Aiden, I make coffee and muffins for a living. You're talking about building empires. I'm talking about passion, he said. And you have that, Lily. I see it every time you cook. His words sank deeper than she wanted them to. There was no arrogance in them, just conviction. Finally she sighed. Fine. I'll help. But only for a month. He nodded. A month is enough to change everything. Working with Aiden was like stepping into a whirlwind. He was precise, demanding, brilliant, and sometimes infuriating. They argued often, especially when he tried to make her dishes more marketable. I'm not changing the recipe just because it sounds fancy, she snapped one afternoon. He crossed his arms. We're not selling comfort food on the corner, Lily. She glared. Maybe you should try being human for once. He blinked surprised, then smiled. There she is. The only person who's not afraid to talk to me like that. And somehow the tension always melted into something softer. One night they stayed late at the test kitchen tasting sauces. She spilled flour on her hands and he laughed, a rare unguarded laugh. She threw a pinch of flour at him in mock protest. It landed on his shirt and before she could apologize, he reached out, brushed her cheek, and left a small streak of white powder on her skin. You missed a spot, he said softly. She froze, heart pounding. You're impossible. Only with you, he murmured. They stood like that for a moment, the air thick with unspoken things, before she turned away, pretending to focus on the sauce again. But the world outside their little bubble noticed. One morning, Lily walked into the cafe and saw her face on a gossip website. Billionaire Aiden Stone's new flame? Mystery chef spotted leaving his tower. Her stomach dropped. By the time she reached her phone, Mia had already texted. You're trending, girl. Are you okay? She wasn't. Lily rushed to Aiden's office, furious. Did you do this? He looked up from his desk, confused. Do what? This, she snapped, throwing her phone onto his desk. Your people. The press. They're saying things about me. About us. He frowned as he read. I didn't tell anyone, Lily. I swear. Then how did they know? He sighed. They always find out. That's the price of being in my world. She stared at him. Well, I don't want your world. Lily. No, she said sharply. You wanted a chef, not a headline. Congratulations. You got both. She turned and stormed out, ignoring his voice calling her name. Days passed. She didn't answer his messages. She poured herself into work at the cafe, pretending everything was fine. But nothing tasted right anymore. Not the coffee, not the pastries, not life. One evening, she came home to find a small package on her doorstep. No name, just her initials on the tag. Inside was a single jar, her lemon and rosemary glaze, and a note. It still tastes like you. Yes. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Part of her wanted to run back to him. The other part whispered, he'll only break your heart. But the next morning when she turned on the TV, she froze. There he was, Aiden Stone, standing on a live interview for a business channel. The host asked him about the rumors, about the chef he's been spending time with. And he didn't deny it. He looked straight into the camera and said, her name is Lily Parker. She's not a rumor. She's the reason I started believing in something real again. Lily gasped, covering her mouth. The host laughed awkwardly. You mean like love? Aiden's eyes softened. Call it whatever you want. But she's the first person who's ever made me taste life again. Her heart pounded. She couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. Mia burst into her apartment 5 minutes later, phone in hand. Did you see that? The man just confessed on live TV. Lily was still staring at the screen, whispering, he's insane. Maybe, Mia said, grinning. But he's insane for you. That night, there was a knock at her door. She opened it, and there he was. No suit, no cameras, just him. I had to see you, he said quietly. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care about the headlines. I care about you. Lily stood frozen, every wall she'd built crumbling at once. You can't just walk in here after everything. I know, he said, stepping closer. But I meant what I said, Lily. You didn't just cook for me. You changed my life. Her eyes filled with tears she didn't expect. You have no idea how complicated this is. He smiled gently. Then let's make it simple. And before she could argue, he leaned in and kissed her. Not careful this time, not hesitant. Just honest. For a long moment the world went silent. Just the sound of their breaths, their hearts, their shared warmth. When Aiden finally pulled back, his forehead rested against hers. Tell me to leave, he whispered. And I will. But Lily didn't. She couldn't. Because no matter how much she tried to convince herself otherwise, she'd already fallen. Don't go, she said softly. He exhaled, relief flooding his face. For the first time, the billionaire who always seemed unshakable looked utterly human, and hers. The next morning, the world still buzzed with his confession. Headlines screamed, paparazzi hovered, reporters camped outside Stone Tower. But Aiden didn't care. He ignored every call, every meeting. Instead, he was in Lily's tiny kitchen, helping her make breakfast. Or trying to. You're terrible at this, she teased, watching him fumble with pancake batter. He grinned. I'm used to mergers, not measuring cups. Clearly. He tried flipping a pancake and missed the pan entirely. She laughed so hard she almost cried. Don't quit your day job, she said. He looked at her, smiling like a man who'd finally found peace. I just might if you keep laughing like that. For a moment she forgot about everything, the chaos, the cameras, the world outside. It was just them. But reality as always caught up. That afternoon, a black car stopped outside her cafe. Aiden's assistant stepped out, polite but clearly uncomfortable. Miss Parker, he said, handing her a folder. Mr. Stone asked me to deliver this. Inside was a formal proposal. Legal contracts. Business terms. Aiden wanted to make her his partner. Not just in life, but in his new restaurant project. It was everything she'd dreamed of. But as she stared at the paper, doubt crept in. That night, she found Aiden waiting for her on the rooftop garden again. The same place where everything had started. "You didn't have to send your assistant," she said. He smiled faintly. "I thought it might be easier than facing me." "You were wrong." She handed him the folder. "I can't sign this." His expression shifted. Not anger, just quiet confusion. "Why not?" "Because I don't want to be part of your empire, Aiden. I just want you. Not the billionaire, not the business. Just you." He looked at her for a long time. Then he stepped closer, closing the space between them. "Lily, I don't want an empire either. I want a life with you in it." Her throat tightened. "Then stop trying to buy it." He smiled softly. "Deal." Weeks passed. The rumors faded. Life found a strange new rhythm. Lily went back to running her cafe, though now it was always full, ever since people found out the billionaire's favorite chef worked there. But Aiden didn't hide from it anymore. He came by often, sometimes helping her serve coffee, sometimes just sitting quietly in the corner watching her work. It became their little ritual, him, the man who once lived in boardrooms and penthouses, finding peace among coffee cups and laughter. One rainy evening, he walked in soaked to the bone, holding something behind his back. "You're late," she teased. "Traffic," he said. "And nerves." He pulled out a small wooden sign beautifully carved. It read, "Rosemary and Gold by Lily Parker and Aiden Stone." She stared at it speechless. "You named it." "Our restaurant," he said quietly. "Not mine. Ours." Tears stung her eyes. "You kept the name we joked about." "I keep everything that reminds me of you." She tried to speak, but he took her hand instead. "It's not a contract. No lawyers. Just a promise that we'll build something real together." She smiled through her tears. "Then I guess I accept." 6 months later. The opening night of Rosemary and Gold was magical. The city's elite filled the room, but Lily barely noticed them. All she saw was Aiden standing at her side, proud and calm. When the guests began to taste her signature dish, lemon rosemary chicken with caramelized honey glaze, the room fell into a hush of delight. A food critic approached her later, smiling. "This is perfect," he said. "What's your secret ingredient?" Lily glanced at Aiden, who was watching her from across the room, his eyes warm and steady. "Love," she said simply. "But don't write that part." The critic laughed. Too late. Later that night, after the last guest had left, they stood alone in the empty restaurant. The lights glowed softly, reflecting off the golden accents of the room. "You did it," Aiden said. "We did it," she corrected. He reached into his pocket and took out a small velvet box. Her heart skipped. "Aiden." He opened it, but inside wasn't a ring. It was a tiny golden rosemary leaf pendant. "So you'll never forget what started it all," he said. She laughed, tears in her eyes. "You're impossible." He smiled. "You keep saying that, and yet you're still here." She stepped closer, wrapping her arms around his neck. "Because impossible feels a lot like love." Their lips met again. Not rushed, not hesitant, but full of everything they'd been through. The chaos, the laughter, the stubbornness, the passion. Outside, the city lights flickered like stars. Inside, the air smelled of lemon and rosemary. Their scent, their story. And as they stood there, holding each other in the quiet glow of rosemary and gold, Lily finally realized something. She hadn't just cooked for a billionaire. She'd cooked her way into his heart, and he into hers.